It's a lot of things that I did not know about depression. When you go through it, it's not that easy.
There isn't a big difference between boys and girls being depressed.
A lot of people really don't know the difference between sadness and depression.
The majority of teens who are in high school believe that they do not need help.
I want to start this video to let people know that they're not alone and that a lot of people have a lot of different depressions and a lot of people self-harm. Everybody has their own story.
Film Science Stars is an all-girl science club where we connect science with real-life, everyday issues. We explore relevant issues scientifically in order to answer our questions and curiosities. We were interested in these high schools' views and experiences with teen depression, so we constructed a survey about it. 182 people took the survey total. 76 people were males and 106 were females.
60% of the survey takers said they don't get help for their depression.
The 40% of the survey takers said they mainly got help from their parents, a family member, or a school counselor. We asked the other 60% of our survey takers why don't they get help for their depression. 46% said it's because they don't need it. 16% said they don't have the time, and 17% said they don't know where to get the help.
We asked each science star to represent her situation with a paper doll. Each part of the body represents one possible cause of depression. One arm, lifestyle. The other arm, family history. One leg, past trauma. The other leg, got any other medical issues. The body, how is your social life, any drama? Your head, do you have any people to talk to? We asked each star to rate these causes of depression from 1 to 5.
Of the 14 stars, most stars feel that their lifestyle is positive. About half of us have experienced something bad enough in life we call trauma.
See how this is complicated?
We have a population of kids here who have pretty significant mental health needs. They've got a lot going on at home. There's a lot going on in the community. There's a lot going on. There's tons of violence in the community. But at the same time, the first priority here is always going to be education. I suspect that the level of stress that most kids are under is not really a normal amount of stress. We just sort of have come to believe it's normal. It's not normal when I ask a class of kids, how many people know someone who was murdered, and like most of the class raises their hand. That's not actually normal, it's just normal here.
We were wondering if there were any differences between boys and girls with depression.
Who do I see more depression in, boys or girls? I think girls are quicker to identify it, talk about it, name it, admit to it. But honestly, I think it's pretty evenly matched. I think it's just more of a difference in terms of who's actually, it's sort of okay for you and I to admit that we're depressed, and if a guy is trying to be tough, he's not going to admit to that. I think it's harder for the guys because they're not supposed to appear weak.
Girls have a higher awareness of what symptoms of depression are. They often know when they're depressed. We learned from Ms. Ethan's interview that girls are more depressed than boys. It's just that they seek more help more often than boys do.
A lot of times with depression, you will see that irritability with teenagers, and people don't realize somebody might actually be depressed, but they might not think of what's considered characteristics, sad, down, moping, but they might be more irritable. Schoolwork, for example, would go down. Relationships can be really disruptive.
We set up a photo booth in East High's cafeteria during lunchtime. The purpose of the photo booth was for us to get East High's opinion on teen depression or depression in general, anonymously. The results from East High's students were very interesting and obvious that they put a little emotion into their answer.
From our survey, our interviewers with experts and researchers learned what we already knew. Depression is real and it hurts.
What do we do about it? What do we do when the stress is building? How do we make it stop?
I started cutting about 2 years ago, and I don't remember the reason why, but I know I got into a really big argument with somebody, and I just felt really bad. And I felt like, well, I hurt this person, I should hurt myself. I should be punished for hurting this person. And then I started, and it just got really addicting, and it was really hard to stop.
I don't understand why people say when you cut, you're trying to commit suicide or you're suicidal, because it's not suicidal. It's just relief and pain.
There's been an uprise of cutting behaviors. I think something that's really important to know about that is that does not always mean that somebody's suicidal. It certainly means that they're hurting themselves, but sometimes cutting is actually an addictive behavior. When someone cuts themselves, if you think about when you get hurt, it releases chemicals in your brain that try to dull pain, right? And so if you think about it, cutting yourself actually releases some chemicals that make you feel better.
I do have a lot of scars on my legs, my arms. You have to think about the future. You can't wear a short sleeve shirt. You can't wear shorts because people will see your scars. Things that I use to help cope. I listen to music sometimes, or I'll go on YouTube and I'll listen to some like meditation type thing and just relax.
We wondered if there were other healthy ways of coping with depression. We interviewed Nurse Fairbanks about the benefits of owning pet and dog therapy. We found that animals help greatly with depression. Working with animals helps people develop empathy and provide confidence to communicate with others. We also learned that staying active and exercise are healthy ways of coping.
Let me take you inside our brains to explain neurotransmitters. Scientists have different guesses about how many nerve cells are trying to talk with each other in our brains, but it is something between 4 and 10 billion. That's a lot. If we zoom in and look closely at any two nerve cells trying to communicate with each other, this is what we would see. Dendrites, a cell body where the nucleus is, and a long part called the axon. The end of the axon is called the axon terminal, because that's where it ends. Scientists think there are not enough colorful M&Ms or neurotransmitters in this space. Medications block the first cell from taking these M&Ms back up, leaving more in the space so more can bind to the next cell.
The most successful really depends on the person. The research would say a combination of medication and talk therapy with a therapist. And what a therapist does that's different is sometimes they're really good at listening for the way a person is thinking about their situation. And sometimes a therapist can really help people like interrupt thoughts that are not really productive, that are going to get people stuck.
What do I have planned for today? Oh yeah, Lana has a birthday party later on tonight.
I'm not in the mood. I just want to be alone.
But my therapist says I have to get out more.
But I really don't want to go. I just want to stay in bed, listen to my music. I don't want to be around people and their happy faces and their perfect lives.
My life could be perfect too if I just get out more.
But I have nothing to wear. People are going to judge me.
Who cares what people says? It's my opinion that matters. I need to stop making excuses and just do it. Word to Nike.
I don't care. I don't care what Nike says. I just want to be alone.
You can do this. Just start by getting dressed and head out the door. Let's go from there.
Okay, fine. Let's go. I've been going to counseling for about a year, and they put me on some medication.
But there are also chemical depressions where people really, it's not like they can just snap out of it. And so I think that we forget sometimes that depression is a disease, that just like, somebody with diabetes can't help it that their pancreas, isn't regulating their insulin well. Someone with depression can't just decide to feel better that day.
Well, when I hear the words, "you are not alone," I think about that as people can relate to me, people can help. The message that I give to people is that they're not alone, and a lot of people do go through this, and that there are people to help and people to talk to.
Depression hurts and it affects a lot of us.
But there are many ways you can deal with stress. Just remember, you can get help, you just have to want it.
Even though the causes for stress may be complicated. You are not alone! 17% of the teens from our survey said they didn't know where to get help. The Center for Youth has a 24-hour confidential hotline for teens needing help.